Welcome to the session on configuring DirSync with Password Sync. My name is Vivek Vinod Sharma and I work as a partner technical consultant with Microsoft. I will be your presenter for today's session. During the course of this session, we will learn about what is Windows Azure Active Directory Synchronization Tool, the different requirements for the DirSync tool. We will then take a look at the entire DirSync process in detail, followed by a discussion on password synchronization. We will wind up our session with a demo of configuring DirSync with Password Sync. So let us first understand what is the Windows Azure Active Directory Synchronization Tool, or the DirSync tool. The DirSync tool is an application that synchronizes on-premises Active Directory objects and passwords into the Windows Azure Active Directory. It is designed as a software-based appliance which works on the set it and forget it basis. DirSync tool is based on the 64-bit version of Forefront Identity Manager of FIM 2010 R2 and bundled together with SQL Server 2008 R2 Express Edition. Before configuring the DirSync tool, it is important to understand the software, network, permission, and additional requirements. A computer running the DirSync tool needs to be on 64-bit hardware with Windows 2008, Windows 2008 R2, Windows 2012 and Windows 2012 R2 being the supported operating systems. We need the Microsoft .NET Framework 3.5 or later and Windows PowerShell 2.0 or later. The synchronization with Office 365 occurs securely over HTTPS port 443. Internal network communication will use typical Active Directory related ports. The administrator who installs the DirSync tool must be a member of the Enterprise Administrators group and also have local administrator permissions for the computer on which the tool is being installed. When configuring DirSync, you must provide an Office 365 Global Administrator account when prompted. DirSync has to be installed on a domain joined machine and can now be installed on a domain controller as well. DirSync process. Perform the following steps to prepare for, implement, and manage directory synchronization for your organization. In the first step, you need to prepare for directory synchronization. You will verify system requirements, create the right permissions, and allow for performance considerations. In the second step, you will activate directory synchronization from the Office 365 admin portal or use PowerShell commandlets to do the same. The third step is to download and install the DirSync tool on a machine which meets all the necessary requirements. In step number 4, you will then configure the DirSync tool and also set up password synchronization. You will perform an initial sync and verify that the data synchronized successfully. You will also configure the directory synchronization tool to set up recurring synchronization and how to force directory synchronization. After you have synchronized your directories, you must activate the users before they can use the services you have subscribed to. You can do this individually or in bulk. The final step is to manage your directory synchronization, including how to update users and domains after synchronization has been activated. DirSync synchronizes the following objects: all Active Directory users, mail-enabled contacts, mail-enabled groups. DirSync does not synchronize the following objects: built-in administrative user accounts, built-in administrative groups, Exchange system mailbox accounts, and dynamic distribution groups. You can perform DirSync filtering based on domain, organizational units or OU, and attribute-based filtering. Filtering configuration is lost if you reinstall or upgrade the DirSync tool. DirSync is scheduled to perform delta synchronization once every 3 hours. You can force an immediate synchronization rather than wait 3 hours by using PowerShell. You can run the start-online coexistence sync commandlet to force directory synchronization. Password synchronization. Password sync overview. Password synchronization is the process of copying a customer's on-premises password hash to Windows Azure Active Directory. Changes to on-premises passwords are synced to the cloud in minutes. Are passwords safe? The password sync tool, Azure AD, and all associated services never see or store the on-premises user's plain text password. To authenticate a user, the password presented by the user is hashed and compared with the stored hash. Password sync limitations. Password synchronization does not replace identity federation. ADFS is still needed for a true single sign-on experience for end users. How does password sync work? The DirSync tool extracts and hashes the user's password from the on-premises Active Directory, then sends the hashed password to the Windows Azure Active Directory. The process is similar to synchronizing the customer's on-premises user object to the cloud. Passwords are synchronized more frequently in minutes than the default 3 hours that the DirSync follows for objects. How to enable password synchronization? It is a simple checkbox selection while configuring the DirSync tool as shown in the screenshot. Let's take a look at the demo now. The demo will focus on configuring Windows Azure Active Directory synchronization tool with password synchronization. Okay, let's begin with the demo. Before going ahead and configuring the directory synchronization tool, an Office 365 Global Administrator has to log into the Office 365 Admin Center, go to Users and Groups, click on Active Directory Synchronization Activate, and activate the directory synchronization from the portal. As you can see, in my demo environment, I have already activated directory synchronization. Once activated, it takes up to 24 hours for the Active Directory synchronization to be activated on the portal. Before configuring the directory synchronization tool, it is also a recommended best practice to run the IDFix tool. As you can see, I have downloaded the IDFix tool, and you can see some of the changes which will not be allowed in the Windows Azure Active Directory. Like Alan's name has 2 question marks in it. The special characters will not be taken up in the Azure Active Directory. Dieter's UPN name had a .local in it. The .local is not acceptable in Windows Azure Active Directory. Jill Schrader's name had a plus sign or a special character in the name, which is again not acceptable. Paul Duffy's name has an @ sign, which will again be not acceptable in the Windows Azure Active Directory sync tool. All these changes will be picked up by the IDFix tool, and you can perform the necessary changes like the correction of the UPN name, the display name, the user principal name correction, and again the display name correction. So I have gone ahead and performed the edit task on these objects, and once you apply these changes, they will give you a status of completed. It is always a best practice to go ahead and run the IDFix tool before running the actual directory synchronization tool, because that will help take a preventive measure when going ahead with directory synchronization. Next, let's take a look at Windows Azure Active Directory synchronization tool configuration wizard. We click on Next and supply the admin credentials on Office 365. When we click on Next, we will be asked to supply the enterprise admin credentials on the local domain or local Active Directory. If you have an Exchange hybrid setup, you can click on the checkbox and say Enable Hybrid Deployment. If you don't intend to deploy a hybrid, then you can keep this checkbox unselected. This is the place where we'll be going ahead and activating password synchronization. If you don't want to go ahead with password synchronization, leave this box unchecked. Since we are going ahead and configuring password synchronization with directory synchronization, we'll select this checkbox. Once we hit next, it'll take some time to configure. Once the configuration is complete, click on Next, and we can select the checkbox which says Synchronize your directories now. If you want to go ahead and set up directory synchronization filtering based on domain, OU, or attribute-based filtering, then you have to deselect this checkbox. Selecting this checkbox means that the minute you hit Finish, directory synchronization will kick into action. We'll be going ahead and taking a look as to how you can verify the Active Directory synchronization with the DirSync tool using some event viewer logs and tasks. How to verify directory synchronization and password synchronization. There are a couple of ways where you can use the event viewer and the MIIS client to verify the DirSync has happened correctly or not. If you open up the event viewer and go to the application logs, you will notice event ID 0, which informs you that Windows Azure Active Directory connector has done a successful export. In order to verify password sync, the event IDs start with a 600 series. 601 indicates that password synchronization manager has started. 656 and 657 are the ones which take care or let you know that the password synchronization has completed successfully. The other method to verify is by going to the MIIS client. The path of the MIS client is C, Program Files, Windows Azure, Directory Synchronization. Go to Sync Bus, Synchronization Service, UI Shell, and MIS client.exe. If you open up the MIS client.exe, you will notice that the Windows Azure Active Directory has done a successful import with 92 adds and 13 updates in this case. The other important thing to know is how to go ahead and force a synchronization. You will need to open up Directory Synchronization PowerShell. You'll need to go to C, Program Files, Windows Azure Active Directory Sync, and go to DirSync Config Shell. The commandlet that you will be using in this case is start-online coexistence sync. The minute you hit enter, you will see that synchronization is forced. And a command is sent to Windows Azure Directory Sync service to start synchronization now. Event ID 0 will let you know that the service command was processed successfully. Resources. Below is a list of resources for your reference on directory synchronization with password synchronization. Thank you.